Hello everyone and welcome back to the next installment of our 9.1 raid guides. This is Crzypck from Complexity Limit, and today we're going to show you how to kill the Mythic Remnants of Ner'zhul encounter in the Sanctum of Domination. Let's start with a short disclaimer. All of our Mythic guides will assume you have a good understanding of the heroic version of the encounter. We will not be discussing the basic mechanics, but instead the changes for Mythic and our strategy for how to defeat the Mythic version of the encounter. If you need a refresher on any of the basic mechanics for a fight, check out our heroic videos on the channel. For this encounter, we recommend going in with 2 tanks, 5 healers, and 13 DPS. Ner'zhul has one major change going into Mythic. Every time he casts Shatter, a piece of armor that breaks off will now actually be floating around and replicate various abilities at you. At 80%, he'll shatter off his helmet, which duplicates Suffering. This will connect to the closest person to the helm as the target and then shoot a laser at the same time the boss is shooting his. Obviously, the extra laser is dangerous and can certainly kill people, so be careful. On the plus side, this Suffering laser can actually be used to break the shields off the Orbs of Torment, meaning they can be super useful and helpful if any of the orbs ever end up in weird spots. At 60%, the Gauntlet shatters off. This will duplicate one line of Grasp of Malice, coming from the Gauntlet itself at the same time the boss casts the ability. This means each time the Grasp is cast, you'll just end up with even less safe space on the platform. At 30% health, the chest piece breaks off, which will replicate Malevolence. This will put a third orb above itself each time the boss casts Malevolence. You can't interact with this orb, meaning you can't dispel it. You'll just need to wait 21 seconds for it to expire, at which point it'll explode and knock everybody back just like the regular orbs do. For this, you'll want to just watch your boss timers and make sure your raid moves to stack next to the orb right before it explodes, obviously aiming yourself so you don't get knocked off the side of the platform. As with all Mythic bosses, all of the heroic mechanics in this fight have their numbers dialed turned up a little bit. For this fight in particular though, one of those dials gets turned up to 11, the Orbs of Torment. Each orb will apply the Torment debuff to 3 players every 6 seconds throughout the fight. This dot ticks for almost 9,000 damage every 3 seconds on Mythic, lasting 12 seconds. So with 2 orbs spawning at the same time most of the fight, these stacks are going out really quickly and make up a substantial portion of the raid's total damage intake. As such, successfully killing them and lobbing them off the side as quickly as possible is vital. If not, your healers are going to get overrun. Between the boss's Suffering and the duplicate Suffering that you get from the helm after 80%, you really need to ensure that these lasers are done properly and are always hitting any of the orbs on the platform. Missing 1 orb is survivable for a while, but missing 2 orbs and not being able to DPS them is probably not survivable. As soon as one of the orbs dies, you'll want to run that to the edge as quickly as possible, unless of course you are down to the wire waiting for a Malevolence knockback, in which case wait for the knockback, then run the orb over. Speaking of Malevolence, we found a pretty reliable way to cut down on the danger of these. Instead of dispelling them each individually and bouncing your raid all over the place, you can actually have both Malevolence targets just stacked together near the edge of the platform. Whichever one of the 2 targets has a movement displacement ability, something like Disengage or Blink, should be slightly further outside the other target. Then, on the raid leader's call when they say it's safe to do so, have a priest cast Mass Dispel to clear both of the Malevolences at exactly the same time. This makes it so it'll really only hit the raid with what's effectively a single knockback. However, the target that was slightly further outside may actually get knocked off the platform here, which is why we recommend they have a displacement ability. That way, if they do get knocked off, they can just use whatever that ability is and save themselves. Right before you Mass Dispel, the rest of the raid should be stacked up, and you'll likely want to pop a raid cooldown if you have one available, as the double explosion does do a pretty large amount of damage to the raid. So let's walk through these phases a bit. From 100% to 80%, there isn't really a ton going on. You'll have Malevolence and some orbs, not really too big of a deal. At 80%, you'll get your first Shatter, dodge the swirlies. From this point on, each time the boss is about to cast Suffering, you'll need the off tank to run over to the helm and be the closest player to it. This will link Suffering to that off tank from the helm, and from there, you'll either shoot the Suffering at an Orb of Torment that needs to be lasered, or just shoot that second extra Suffering harmlessly away from the raid. At 60%, you'll get another Shatter, dodge the swirlies again, there are more this time. From here, you'll be doing everything as you already were, but Each Grasp of Malice now has less safe space on the platform, so watch your feet. Your raid leader should keep a close eye on where the gauntlet is floating and call out which safe spots are actually going to be safe. As a raid, you'll want to stay pretty close to the middle of the room here to help ensure that moving to wherever the safe spots are is as easy and quick as possible. While handling all of this stuff, the Orbs of Torment can start to become a problem. Do not fall behind on these. Use both the Suffering lasers to the fullest, both the one from the boss and the one from the helm, and make sure you don't have extra orbs floating around throwing dots on the raid, or your healers can start to get overwhelmed. At 30% health, you'll get your last shatter, which will have 3 full sets of swirlies. Don't die to this. There's honestly a shitload of swirlies coming out here. Dodge all of them. Bloodlust immediately after that shatter ends. From this point on, you'll have that third malevolence to deal with, so keep your eyes peeled for where that'll be. Don't get knocked off, don't stand in bad things. Healers will probably want to rotate cooldowns during this last phase, as the damage can get out of hand really quickly. Use health stones and health pots to give your healers a hand, new card, and take this boss down. Just as a note, as you're going through progressing this fight, this last phase, sub 30%, is probably where you'll see a large portion of your wipes, just simply because there's so much going on that can kill you. Keep your heads in the game, focus on the mechanics, take things slowly, and make sure you're executing properly, and the boss will fall for you. If you enjoyed this guide, remember to give this video a thumbs up, and don't forget to make sure you're subscribed to the channel to catch all of our previews, guides, kill videos, and more. From the team here at Complexity Limit, have a great day, and we'll see you next time.